Good morning, guys. This is gonna be a really quick video, but my little brother is going to college and I already made him a pillow for his bed, but he also needs a robe. And I have this blanket that I got from my grandma and I feel like it'd be the perfect thing for a robe. So this is the blanket right here. I'm gonna show you guys real quick how you can easily turn a blanket into a robe. Fold the blanket in half along the longest side, and then you're gonna take this and you're gonna fold it in half again. Then you actually want to flip it over and then you want to pull this back a little bit so that way the side with the edges out is overlapping a little bit more than this part is. Now you're just gonna cut down this edge right here. If you want, you can measure how wide the shoulders are and then fold it in half. That's how long you want this piece to be. But you can also just eyeball it because it's a robe, so it can be oversized. So I'm just gonna cut about right here. And then this piece is gonna end up being your robe tie. This is not the easiest thing to do. I might have to cut the layers separately because it's pretty thick, but it seems to be working all right. Just keep going. When you get to the point where you're satisfied with the length, then you just cut across. Now we're gonna unfold the fabric and then cut out arm and neck holes. I told my brother to see which side he wanted to be the outside and he picked the side that I thought he would pick. So we're gonna actually do the inside of the blanket as the outside because it just looks a little bit more like polished, like basic. The other side has like a paisley print on it. So unfold the fabric. Now I have the pieces laid out and I'm just gonna cut here where the neck hole is, and I'm gonna cut here and here for armholes. And I just cut out a neck hole. We're going back to the rest of the fabric. That long strip that was left over, we're gonna cut it off and then we're gonna use the rest of it to make sleeves. Now I have folded over this fabric so that way we only have to make a seam at the bottom, and then I have layered this armhole over it so I know where to cut, and I'm just gonna make a cut along right here, and then I'm gonna cut out the shape of the armhole. I cut out 2 of the sleeves and then I cut a V in these front portions. I might need to cut more later. And now I'm just gonna sew at the edges of this part, and then I'll sew the sleeves on, and then I'll sew down the sides. Now that I've sewn the shoulders together, I'm just gonna open it up like this, and then I'm going to put the sleeves down this way and then sew around the edge. The sleeves are attached. Now the next step is sew the bottom of the sleeves and sew down the sides of the robe. This robe is actually quite large, so he's gonna be really comfy in this because it's like the whole blanket size, but it'll end up being like that, I guess. I just cut out these 2 strips of fabric and then I'm gonna sew them together so it's one long strip, and then fold it in half and sew it around the collar and down to where I like cut this long. So this length of this all together needs to be the same length as the collar and around the edge. I attached the back side and then I'm gonna fold it over, fold it under, and sew it down again. But first I need to cut this off right here and tuck in the edge. So I just folded it in half like I want it, and I'm just gonna cut straight up. I attached the collar piece and then I decided that I actually liked the way it looked better folded in half, so I tacked it down that way, and then I made a belt loop and attached it in the middle of the back so that way the tie would have something to go through, and I also made the tie. And here is the final product. Time to twirl. Twirl! Yay! If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and as always, please subscribe to my channel for more content like this.